talk about religion in my life. I was brought up in a Catholic family, both my parents being Catholic. In their upbringing, I certainly didn't have any qualms about my religion as a child. Attending Mass every Sunday, as we did, each and every one of my siblings and I, my brothers, that is, made our First Holy Communion in a suit made up of a smart blazer and shorts. And eventually I made my confirmation in St. Mary's Parish Church, Dungarvan, and my confirmation sponsor at the time was my cousin, young Joe Power. Who came from a family who owned, or should I say, who ran a bakery in Dungarvan. In its day, my granduncle and grandaunt Joseph Sr. and his wife Nancy Power ran a very successful bakery. In its heyday, it had its own tea shop, whereby customers came in to have tea with cakes to order. I have very fond memories of that family of Powers. My brothers and I, during the 80s, would, during the weekend, go into Dungarvan town to help out at the bakery and in the shop connected with the bakery. Being behind the counter with Auntie Nancy, serving customers. On occasions, a customer would ask for a loaf of fresh bread, Powers bread, to be sliced, and they took it off a shelf in the shop, whole, and either my brother Paul or I would take the loaf and run into the connecting yard and back into the bakery to the slicing machine, where we put the loaf through the slicing machine and then through the waxing machine, where the sliced loaf was placed in waxed paper and put through the hot wax machine that sealed the loaf in its wrapper. And then we'd run back to the shop and serve the customer. It was that same cousin of mine who was much older than Paul and I by roughly 10 years or more. Principally, young Joe was my father's first cousin. Yet, as my brothers and I knew him, we took him as just being our cousin, straight off. And anyway, young Joe used to deliver bread to houses around the town and the local area, Ballin Road included, with a bread van at his disposal, a Renault 4 van at that. And many is the occasion that I was in the van with young Joe, going around delivering bread. And Joe used to love music, and in particular playing J.J. Cale and his album Naturally at full volume, going along the road, and we were all possibly singing along to these tunes. And ever since, I've been a huge fan of J.J. Cale. And so my natural choice of sponsor for my confirmation was Joe Jr. And the confirmation name I chose was Bernard, as at the time young Joe was reading a book on Saint Bernard of Clairvaux. Well, over the years, I kept my faith alive and attended Mass on a regular basis, together with my wife Maria. Yes, I've always kept an open mind about religion and other religion at that. And I've had colleagues being Muslim, I would question them and talk to them about their religion, and we generally exchanged views on religion. Yet, in more recent times, I have become more spiritual in my being, and less religious in terms of practicing going to Mass, that is. I rarely go to Mass these days, on a couple of counts. One, because I have a slight hearing problem in this ear, my right ear, and ever since the high school, when it was made known that I had a slight hearing problem, I was purposely put at the front of the class to the left-hand side of the teacher, so that I could pick up on what was being said. So, as such, in recent times going to Mass entailed that wherever I sat, it was possible, and quite often, I wouldn't be hearing what was being said, even with a sound system in the church. So what's the point? And also, I would feel to be a complete hypocrite going to church with my whole family, making out that, oh yes, we're the happy family at Mass all together and everything's fine with us, when it's not, when my wife and I are not close anymore. So on that account, I would not be lying either, choosing not to be there with the family. And just today, it being Sunday, the 27th of April, 2019, and 14. Earlier this morning, in the Vatican City in Rome, Pope Francis I led a canonization ceremony to make Pope John Paul II and Pope John the 23rd saints. And as from today, they have both become saints. And I will duly offer prayers to both these new saints in future.